When my other half asked me if I wanted some overnight oats, this is not what I thought she had in mind. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, this is a beer called Overnight Oats. It is do excuse me, I'm going to have to read it off the can, a blueberry, coconut and vanilla sour with oats, weighing in at a whopping 8%. Now, that sounds interesting. Sour beers, a lot of people love them, a lot of people absolutely despise them, and I'm sat here in the middle a bit confused, to be honest. In general, actually, I do quite enjoy one when it's done well, but a bad one, well, quite literally leaves a bad taste in your mouth. So this will be interesting. And after my previous video, which was a relatively reasonably priced beer, in fact, a very reasonably priced beer, this is back to some premium stuff. I'll be honest, I can't remember how much I paid for it. It's definitely in the £6 or £7 a can region, I'm afraid, but hopefully it'll be worth it. Now then, just before we break into it, for those who are unaware of what we're talking about when I say overnight oats, there's been a relatively modern fad of basically creating cold porridge without cooking it by leaving oats in yogurt overnight in the fridge. That's overnight oats. It's basically quick breakfast without having to put in a lot of effort, and by all accounts, well, they're sour as, to be honest, in my experience. I've tried them a couple of times. They're not my thing because I do not need that sour slap in the face first thing in the morning. But this is a sour beer, so the concept might just work. Before we break into it then, here is a quick look at the can. I mean, I don't actually know if I've had anything from Yonder before. I certainly don't think I've reviewed anything. They come with a good reputation. There you go, blueberry coconut, overnight oats, blueberry coconut and vanilla sour with oats at 8%. Lovely looking can art there. Nighttime design for the overnight part. Load of info on the back there, which we'll get into a bit later. But yeah, solid looking can. Look at the colour on that. Now, safe to say it was a bit lively on the pour, and I don't want to risk it just going everywhere and dying. Well, this entire room, bright purple. I'll be honest, I'm amazed. Like, that is... Look at it. That looks like I've opened up a can of some premium Dulux paint. I'm about to, well, paint it in a questionable burgundy colour, I guess. I mean, it is so deep, so rich, kind of 3-finger, pure kind of baby pink head, and that body is no light bleeding through whatsoever. Look, it looks like matte paint in the glass. That is just ridiculous. The fact that it moves when you do that, it almost comes as a shock because it looks like it should be, well, yeah, paint thickness. Absolutely, yeah, incredible stuff. Right then, aroma time. Wow. Now, I know this is meant to be replicating something that isn't cooked, overnight oats. There's no baking involved, but that smells like fruited flapjack. It smells sweet, looks thick, reviving almost. Like, I'm not sure whether this is a lactose beer or not yet, but it's got this kind of thick, creamy, milky kind of sweetness to it, and the fruit comes across really interestingly, actually, because yes, it's distinctly blueberry, but it starts off sweet. It kind of mingles with a bit of that vanilla, and then towards the back end on the aroma, if that makes any sense at all, you start to just get an impression that it could be something very, very sour about to happen. The coconut, it would be unfair to say it wasn't there. It's certainly not dominant, and I think it's mingling with the vanilla, and I think that might be what that lactose sweetness is. I think this is probably not a lactose beer, and it's that coconut and vanilla together to create a very luscious experience. Right then, I'm actually really excited for this one, so let's get into it, shall we? Cheers. That's a bit ridiculous. That is so sweet, so luxurious, so smooth. It's wow. I mean, as far as sour beers go, it's up there. It's a damn good one. It's not that sour though. Actually, if you're looking for some proper lip-puckering, sour-smacking action, this probably isn't the one. But if you want, effectively, a fruit beer with a bit of a, well, legitimate fruit kick, then you could do far, far worse. Right then, I'm going to top this up and we'll do a quick top-to-bottom taste test to try and work out what the hell is going on here, because it is something truly, truly glorious. Right then, so initially, mild carbonation, heaps of sourness up front. And interestingly, that last sip was more sour than the rest. So whether some of the sourness was hiding at the bottom of the can, it's very possible. But I did give it a little move around before just to try and shake it up, but maybe it wasn't enough. Anyway, but yeah, a bit sour up front. It's not big though, it's just an expected amount, really. And then that second phase is where you really start to appreciate the mouthfeel on this beer. It's certainly not thick. It's not a milkshake of a thing. But what it is just, well, it's sensory heaven. It's so smooth. It's so slick to go back. It feels velvety almost. And in that second phase as well, that coconut starts to ramp up a little bit. You're starting to get a few hints, a few suggestions, but there's no earthiness of coconut in there. It's like coconut milk. It's all that really sweet looks. The really bad for you bit that is absolutely delicious. And then mid palate, we're back. Another sour flick, heaps of blueberry this time. And now I'm dissecting this a bit. I can kind of see it. Overnight oats, it's layers of things, isn't it? It's yogurt, it's oat, it's fruit, it's, and they're layered on top of each other, and each bite, each thing's going to be just a little bit different. And the same thing is happening in this beer. Starts off a little bit sour, a little bit, yogurt sourness. Then we get into kind of some sweet oats. That's kind of the coconut comes in there. Then we're into sourness again, but this time it's fruit sourness. It's a little bit more intense. It's short-lived, but it's there. It's proper. And then at the back of the tongue is where it all comes together. More coconut, more fruit. Sourness fades away, and the oat, the flapjack, the baking element of this, or even though it's not baked, as I've said, starts to come to the fore. And then in the aftertaste, you get a bit of a palate cleanser almost. Initially, you swallow it and you go, it's all gone. The flavour's gone. But set the beer down. Wait a moment. And it all starts to come trickling back in. Fruit's there. Sourness is gone. The coconut is subtle, but that vanilla note is starting to come in, blend it all together, bringing that kind of richness from the oats, and that is a cracking sour. But unfortunately, there is a massive question mark over whether it's beer. Now, in the technical sense, it's beer. It's been brewed. It's gone through all the stages any other beer has. But this is my problem often with sour beers, is that they might taste fantastic, but they don't necessarily taste like beer. And then I get into questions of, well, if it doesn't taste like beer, would I rather be drinking something else that doesn't taste like beer? And a lot of questions to be asked. Technically, it's beer. Don't shout at me. Yes, I know. But if I'm reaching for this because I want a fruited beer, I'm not going to be disappointed because it tastes that good. But I might still have a beer itch to scratch at some point later on. So, yeah, interesting one. Let's take a quick look at the can. On the front of the can then, Yonder, blueberry coconut overnight oats, a blueberry coconut and vanilla sour with oats at 8%. And on the back it says, this thick and creamy oat-based delight is packed full of blueberry and toasted coconut, plus a touch of vanilla. It is dangerously easy drinking, with its deep sweetness and gentle acidity in perfect balance. Yes, totally agree. It says, produced in the UK by Yonder Brewing and Blending Limited at the Workshop Rookery in Somerset. It contains water, malted barley, oats, blueberry, coconut, vanilla and yeast. That is literally all that's in it. It's 8%. As a result, there's 3.5 UK units in this thing. So yeah, a bit potent. Wouldn't want to have too many. But you would, because it is absolutely delicious. And I've had a lot of really good sours where I've said, look, this tastes incredible, but it's not beer, and therefore it's a bit of a letdown. This might be the first one that definitely doesn't taste like beer, but the quality is so good, it doesn't really matter. And one thing that this is doing is, although it's not quite scratching the beer itch, that richness from the oats, that distinct, almost malty flavour, is almost dragging it into identifiable beer territory. It's right on the cusp, this one. And I have to say, I'd definitely buy another one because that is absolutely delicious. And that is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.